Welcome to RM and More. Today we're going to dive deep into the Negreira case, one of the most controversial and delicate issues that has shaken Spanish football in recent years. We'll go through the current judicial situation, the key evidence, who has been called to testify, and what consequences all of this could have for those involved, and for FC Barcelona itself. The most recent development is that Judge Alejandro Gil has summoned Joan Laporta, Luis Enrique, and Ernesto Valverde as witnesses. Alongside them, others are already under formal investigation: Sandro Rosell, José María Bartomeu, Javier Enríquez, Ana Ruiz, Albert Soler, and Oscar Grau, among others. All of them will have to give explanations in the coming months. The case has already gathered a massive amount of documentation: invoices, statements, tax reports, and even the infamous burofaxes sent by Negreira, in which he warned that if the payments stopped, he would reveal compromising information. Experts consider this a piece of evidence with enormous weight. But what is the core issue here? Very simple: to clarify the nature of FC Barcelona's payments to José María Enríquez Negreira, who for years served as vice president of the referees committee. The payments are undeniable. What must be determined is whether their purpose was to influence the competition, which would constitute the crime of sports corruption. Here's a crucial detail: Spain's tax agency already fined Barcelona for trying to deduct invoices that had no real justification. The club accepted that sanction. This means that Barcelona implicitly acknowledged that there were no valid reports behind those payments. So the inevitable question is, why was Negreira being paid? Another interesting angle is the role of the coaches. Valverde already told police he never received a single report from Negreira, and it's expected that Luis Enrique will say the same. If both confirm that nothing ever reached them, it completely undermines the claim that the payments were for technical reports. Laporta's situation is more complicated. In a 2-hour press conference, he insisted the payments were legitimate, but his arguments contained obvious contradictions. For example, he said Negreira had no influence on refereeing, when in fact the vice president of the CTA participated directly in promotions and demotions of referees. And that's no small matter. A referee in Spain's first division earns far more than one in the second division, so Negreira's influence was undeniable. Reports from the Civil Guard even show that referee grades were manipulated, with scores literally corrected by hand. This strengthens the idea that Negreira did have the power to influence referees' careers, and by extension, the competition itself. Another fundamental figure is Joan Gaspart, former Barça president and a key man during Núñez's era. The prosecution has already asked for his testimony, which could be crucial since he was aware of how these payments first began. Remember, everything starts in Núñez's presidency and continues with his successors. So, what can we expect in court? Experts agree there will be a trial. The judge will compile all the evidence, listen to witnesses and defendants, and both the prosecution and the private accusations, including those of Real Madrid, LaLiga, and the RFEF, will ask the direct question: why did you pay Negreira? The defense of Rosell and Bartomeu will be particularly difficult, as they were the ones directly authorizing the payments. Others, like Negreira's son, may have more room to defend themselves, since he did prepare technical reports and did not hold any official position in the refereeing body. In his case, a charge of corruption in sport is unlikely to stick. But for Rosell, Bartomeu, and possibly Laporta, the outlook is much more serious. If the payments are proven to have no real counterpart and were aimed at ensuring favorable treatment, we are looking at crimes of sports corruption, dishonest administration, falsification of documents, and even money laundering. It's also possible that some defendants may seek a deal, admitting part of the wrongdoing in exchange for reduced sentences. That could put the club itself in a very difficult position, because any confession from a former president would be devastating for Barcelona's defense and reputation. The burofax sent by Negreira is perhaps the biggest headache for the defense. In it, he clearly threatened to expose everything irregular unless he kept receiving money. That is, in essence, blackmail. And the problem is that it implicates both the one who paid and the one who received. All of this makes the Negreira case a very strong judicial process from the perspective of evidence. The tax agency, the Civil Guard, and the statements of those involved all point in the same direction. The defense lawyers will have to prove that the payments were lawful, and according to experts, that seems nearly impossible. Because at the end of the day, the key question remains: How can you justify a football club paying, year after year, the vice president of the referees committee? We're not talking about catering services, outside consulting, or something unrelated to football. We're talking about the second most important figure in Spanish refereeing. From the start, it looks like a massive conflict of interest. What's at stake here is not only the reputation of certain former presidents, but also that of FC Barcelona as an institution. And while the judicial process will be long and complex, one thing seems almost certain: this case is going to trial, and there will be plenty of revelations in the coming months. So stay tuned, because here at RM and More we'll continue bringing you all the updates with clarity and rigor. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next videos.